morning. Calling the roll for the Monday, December 20th Board of Control meeting. It is 11:03. Nan Baker. Here. Dale Miller.
Here.
Joe Nani serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones.
Here.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for Mike, fiscal officer.
Here.
Ankita Walker serving as an alternate for Catherine DeConte.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can we take a second to review the Board of Control minutes from last week, 12/13? If there are no corrections to the minutes, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, moving on to contracts.
First item, BC 2021-742, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Ozane Construction Company Incorporated for design build services for the central booking project at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center to modify the scope of services for various architectural changes and to address pandemic-related market price increases and product delays, effective December 20th, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount of $429,509.14.
Good morning to the board. Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. So as stated, this is an amendment that should take us to the end of construction for the central booking project initiative. This is a design build services contract with Ozane Construction, and Bowen Engineers and Architects are our design engineer underneath the design builder. This change picks up approximately $429,000 worth of additional costs since the completion of the design portion of this and the initial construction period. We are about 50%, just under 50% through construction, and in addition to the answers to advanced questions, we just added to your packet some progress photos so that you can take a look at those, and happy to answer any questions on that. The cost breakdown summarized from the response to the advanced questions is approximately $174,000 in various architectural changes that resulted from the design phase, and this picks up all the review comments from, as an example, the State of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction and the changes that they made to the design, our review with Metro Health and their review of their areas within the design, and some changes that were sent out from our engagement with the Cuyahoga County Advisory Committee on Persons with Disabilities. So all of those reviews resulted in some design effort and change and architectural changes that are resulted in that cost. We have approximately just under $126,000 in pandemic-related schedule impacts. These are primarily the extension of general conditions to the construction contractor and the extension of the design services construction administration to Bowen Engineering. We are also adding additional contingency for the remaining 50% of the contract. I put in the advanced questions, we started out the program with 2.5% contingency, which is very good on a heavy renovation. Our contract authorizes up to 10%, and with this addition, we'll only be at 5% contingency. And then there were markups on the subcontractor costs that were part of this as well for the design builder. We will expect to be completed with substantial completion of construction by March 31st and full construction completion administratively by May 31st. So we should have operational benefit of the new central booking area in the early April timeframe of 2022. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. My question is whether you think these cost increases are particular to the central booking project, or do you think we're going to be seeing this in contracts on a more wide scale going forward?
Through the chair to Councilman Miller, I believe you're specifically referring to pandemic-related kinds of changes. So in this is about maybe 30% of the amendment cost that we're talking about here. And I would say, yes, we have, during all of our active facilities capital construction projects currently, we have had to make some kind of pricing adjustment on all of our active work because of material delays and or material price increases. So I do think it, to a greater or lesser extent, it is impacting most projects. How to forecast that for the future, I couldn't say, but But we are seeing it at present on our active construction projects, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add, the labor shortage is also hurting us. And there's a lot of work going on right now in the market, especially on the building side. I mean, if you read what the clinic is doing. And so I think we're going to see increased prices going forward for a little while, just because of that too. I mean, so supplies and labor are a bit scarce right now.
Having said that, this amendment will take us till the end of construction for this project. I feel confident about that.
Any additional questions? Councilwoman Baker?
The 173,000 is the largest amount here, and that's for design bill. Weren't those parties involved from the beginning? That seems like a pretty big addition in design build for things that they see that they now want changes. Weren't they part of the process to begin with, that this larger cost that's unexpected wouldn't have happened?
To the Councilwoman, that's a great question. Let me explain a little bit about the process. So if you recall, when we presented the full guaranteed maximum price amendment to council at the current contract price of $3.2 million, that was based on our criteria architects, call it a 20% design phase, that then got turned over to our design builders. So they priced that criteria architect package with the fee that we presented to council at that time. And then as the design went forward, then we were engaged more, we were engaged with ODRC previous to that, yes. But when they saw the full design package, when they walked the project, that's when these additions to the design were priced and, or at least were designed, and now we're getting the final pricing of those changes.
If I may, so is it fair to say we didn't allow enough for the design build phase, not understanding perhaps what it is that these different parties now want as part of their build out?
I think a better answer is that we were better informed by what our stakeholders needed, by what the corrections team needed. I think those things matured and changed. In parallel, there's an effort being led by Chief Public Safety, Mr. Corey, with all of the court and municipal court, common police court, and clerks, and that stakeholder group. And as they got into the project, in parallel with the design, we were better informed on what they need and what they needed to see, in addition to the external reviews. So I think we just had better maturation of the design requirements, more so than missing things.
Okay, and the 3.2 million total cost, what does that take us up to now then?
This will take us to $3,674,014.14.
3.6 million, okay. All right, thank you, and I know you're working,
Right.
it just seems like a high number for a design build after the fact, but I understand your answer. Thank you.
So if I could
Yes,
add additional, that contingency amount, this will all, the design build services are all a not to exceed amount with open book review
okay,
on the costing, so that it may come in under also, Councilwoman,
okay, good.
without use of that full contingency.
All right, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-743, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Union Industrial Contractors Incorporated for rehabilitation of Highland Road Bridge numbers 00.13, 00.31, 00.54, and 00.64 over Euclid Creek in the city of Euclid for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $496,287.63.
That's great. Nicole English with Public Works. I was wondering if you just didn't want to hear about this project. Yes, good job, Joe. So this is a change order. This project has been going on a long time. If you'll remember, in 2017 is when we bid it. It's 4 bridges. It was fairly complicated in the fact that we were dealing with the EPA and approvals on the streams. And then when they cut into the bridges, at one point the decks were worse off than when we first did the design. So there's been a significant amount of work. This change order is essentially wrapping up the project. They are done, they're open. There is going to be a delay claim that probably comes forward at the end because the project has gone on significantly longer than the initial contractor's bid due to those outside forces. But this essentially is wrapping up all the material costs that are coming in. I did provide an attachment that handles all of the big dollar values, and then like any other project closeout, there's a bunch of little things that kind of got wrapped up into this. So if there's any further questions, but I think the list is pretty self-explanatory on the big stuff.
Any questions on this item? Councilman-
Yes, is the delay claim something we would have to pay, and how much money might we be talking about?
So we're negotiating now with them. Obviously, the contractor comes in higher, we go down. We've been back and forth. I think we're in agreement. There is some additional money in the contract that isn't being used, so I think what you will see in an amendment will be less than the actual delay claim. But yeah, I mean, it is per contract what they are owed. But we do negotiate and go back and forth kind of on what is eligible, what's not, laws involved. They, assist on that end.
So are they basically saying that we somehow delayed the project and that therefore they had to spend more money? Is that what they're saying?
Correct, and we is kind of a group of people, which means, approval agencies, anyone other than them. So we isn't always the county, but it was, the outside EPA approvals. ODOT is involved in this, there's federal funding on the project. So there was just kind of several different factors that played into that. But yes, essentially that's what the delay claim will be for. But that is another piece of legislation that you'll see at a later date at Border Control.
What's the total value of this contract?
It is 14.9 almost million, just under that.
And what would be a worst-case scenario on the delay claim?
We're thinking, what I think you'll end up seeing is a couple $100,000. The delay claim initially started at 700. We're down somewhere around 4. Then we
Okay.
have some money to
Okay.
offset it.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-744, Department of Public Works, submitting an agreement with the City of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $150,160.98 for bridge inspection services for the period January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
Nicole English with Public Works. This is our agreement with Cleveland to perform their bridge inspections on the city's bridges that they are normally responsible for, but they don't have the internal staff and they would prefer to use our staff instead of a consultant. We've been doing this back since 2014. There seems to be, at the end of this year, all of a sudden we sent them the bill. They said they couldn't pay it until we signed a new agreement, which hadn't been in place since 14. So I'm not understanding exactly why on their end, but in order to get paid, we're passing this agreement. So we have asked them that before we start any inspections next year, we'd like to have the next year's agreement if that's how they want to proceed. So you will see another one of these probably sooner than later for the 22 inspections.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Just a quick question. I'm assuming this covers your true cost for
Correct.
doing the inspection.
Yeah, so we have an approved overhead rate also, through
Okay.
ODOT that we apply to it. So it's labor
Perfect.
and.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-745, County Treasurer, requesting to amend Board Approval Number BC 2021-610, dated October 25th, 2021, which made an award on a purchase order to Weekly's Mailing Service Incorporated for printing and mailing of 2021 last half and 2022 first half of Easy Pay coupons, ACH tax payment notification letters to participating taxpayers by changing the amount from $12,628.85 to $13,728.85.
Good morning, Ray McDaniel, Deputy Treasurer. The vendor that's handling our Easy Pay program that sends out the letters as well as the coupons contacted us to let us know that there has been an increase in price. The increase in price for the envelopes, which is the number 9 and number 10 envelopes that we use to send out the letters as well as send out the coupons so they can send them back to us, has increased by $1,100. The vendor is looking for approval before they actually place the order. And that's why I stand before you.
Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, is this gonna create any delay in getting the tax bills out?
This is not related to the tax bill at all. This is related to the Easy Pay program for the second half of 2021 tax year. This will allow them to prepay their taxes prior to the tax bills going out.
And why is the contractor allowed to say, whoops, our supply costs increase as opposed to honoring the price that they bid?
The reason why they can't honor the price that they bid is because of the pandemic. The pandemic has caused an inflation or an increase in price in ordering, and there is a shortage of these envelopes as well. So if they don't pay the market price for them, then we won't receive the envelopes.
So, was there a provision in the contract that if the cost went up, that they'd be able to pass along the cost?
I don't believe that that was a provision that was in the contract itself. They didn't know that the price went up until just recently, and that's why they contacted us. We knew that there was a shortage out there, but this was prior to or after the contract was approved. So at this point in time, it was a surprise to us that the price has gone up. It's all related to the supply chain across the country. There is a shortage of envelopes out there, and that shortage has driven the price up. The demand for these envelopes is really high, so as the demand goes up, you know that the price is going to go up.
Shankita Walker, Department of Purchasing. So this was not a contract, this was a purchase order because it was a direct service purchase. So we just bid out, it was a bid to see which vendor could provide us what we needed at the cost. And we're finding throughout multiple procurements that due to the pandemic, people are lack of working, lack of resources and supplies that are coming into the country, a lot of things are having to be changed due to costs.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
Just to confirm, so it wasn't a contractual, a dollar amount, that this is something that the vendor can do in light of the relationship that we have on this item? Is that
Correct. It was a purchase
Understood.
order. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add additional information, I tried to go through our print shop to see if our print shop had the envelopes, and it's a shortage all the way around. Our print shop could not handle the requests that the vendor needed to get the letters and the coupons out, and that's why we're in this position we're in. So there was no alternative to fixing this problem but to increase the price and pay that increase.
Yeah, if I may, and I certainly understand that. I guess, I don't know how we would ever know, but if have they applied for relief because of their costs are higher? And did they receive money that would take care of what it is that they are having to pay more for? I don't know how we would know that, but chances are they probably did, and they're still passing the increase along to us.
They are passing the increase along to us. We did not ask those questions with regards to them receiving any type of relief during this pandemic period. We realized that the cost was only $1,100.
Yeah.
So we just felt that we wanted to move forward with this and get these letters out as well as the coupons out to the taxpayers as quickly as possible.
And I agree with that. For $1,100, this is an important mailing. Don't want to delay. Next year, when we go back to this company, I would hope that the price will drop and that we will see that we're not paying an inflated price because of, it has to be better, but if it is better, we need to remember what our original prices were.
Right, and that depends on how the economy is doing.
I understand.
Yes.
Any additional questions?
Just to want to, and it's not specific to this, but it's interesting. I understand what you're saying relative to how these things happen, but at what point in time do you feel as if you lock in an actual price? Is it you have to have a contract with somebody? And
But we can lock in on contract. When we're doing a purchase order procurement, we're purchasing the good and service at cost at that particular time. If the,
Okay, so at the moment in time that the vendor responded and said, I can do it for X amount of money,
Correct. Now, if, when the proposal, we can, when we're soliciting, we can say we want to lock in price or whole price. Initially, we do ask for a whole price for 30 to 60 days, but we're finding that companies are not able to do that.
Okay, so you're hearing from them saying we just can't provide
Correct.
that. Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item?
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-746, Department of Law, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Cleveland State University in the amount not to exceed $150,000 to support the operation of the Pardon, Clemency, and Expungement Clinic at Cleveland Marshal College of Law in connection with the Governor's Expedited Pardon Project for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Jonathan McGorry, Department of Law. This is a new legal clinic at the Cleveland Marshal College of Law in conjunction with funding that they are receiving from the state to start up a pardon program. So this would be $50,000 a year for 3 years to help support a staff attorney position. They are currently hiring that position now. The plan, as I see it, is that they will begin this clinic fall 2022.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilwoman Baker?
So, given that the state is contributing 114,000, is our 150 in addition to that? So it's really a 264,000?
Good morning, Councilwoman. Yes, that is true. So they anticipate, because they haven't hired it yet, I don't know exactly how much they're paying the staff attorney, but they anticipate 120,000 a year. The 114 they're getting from the state is only for 1 year, though. So
For 1 year.
about 250 for 3 years, and they'd have to make up the difference for the salary. CSU would.
This is a 3-year contract. Their 114 is only for 1 year,
Correct.
so the balance of this 150 will pay for the next 2 years, is that?
We're going to provide $50,000 per year for 3 years, up to 3 years.
Okay, and that you believe will cover the program?
It'll cover a portion of this staff attorney. They are seeking additional funding from the Cleveland Foundation, who's let CSU know that if they receive money from the state and Cuyahoga County, that they would be willing to put some money into. So they might be covering the balance.
Okay. Finally, will you, I mean, this is kind of a big deal, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this is a new program. It's what we've been talking about here for a while in working with those and trying to keep them out of prison, am I right?
Correct.
So I would think, will there be reporting on this? Successful outcomes? How will that be managed?
I specifically don't know too much about the day-to-day operations of this new clinic. I will say I was a graduate of Cleveland Marshal College of Law, and I worked for one of the clinical professors while I was there. And they are a fantastic group of individuals over there. And they would definitely be willing to give us any information that we would seek. They'll probably want to keep some information confidential, but as far as aggregate information on successful expungements, pardons, clemency, I'm sure they'd be able to provide.
The chances are you're going to probably come back for more funding, do you think? I mean, 50,000 for the next 2 years doesn't sound like it's very much.
No, I would imagine that if this is a successful program and they hire an individual that they like and they want to keep long-term, that at the end of this term, I would not be surprised if we got a request for additional funding.
Okay, and I know who knows when that'll be, but when it does, I'm sure we'll be asking for some kind of results of what it is that, how this program played out.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thanks. Happy holidays.
Item BC 2021-747, Department of Purchasing, submitting an amendment to a contract with Liquidity Services Operations LLC, doing business as GovDeals, for online auction services for surplus county equipment for the period January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2024, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $32,000.
Shankita Walker, Department of Purchasing. This is an amendment to add additional funds. The county has had an increase in sales this year. We sold a lot of our outdated vehicles from BODD and Public Works. So we had to appropriate money additional for this year. This amendment is adding back the money for '22 that we appropriated for this year and additional funds for the remaining term of the contract. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Sure. So this is probably good news, right? Because it means we're
Yes.
selling more?
Yep.
Yes, yes,
And so the fees go up because of that.
yes.
So, percentage-wise, how much is the typical fee on a sale?
So the entity, they get, I believe it's 13%, and then all the rest of it comes back to the county. And then it's divided up to the department who is the owner of the merchandise that we're selling.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-748, Department of Sustainability, submitting an amendment to a contract with Cleveland State University for microgrid and clean energy development support services for the period July 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2021, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2023, to expand the scope of services to provide data analysis assistance with the Climate Business Risk Assessment Tool, and to assist in creating a microgrid center for excellence, effective January 1st, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $180,000.
Hi, Mike Foley from the Department of Sustainability. So this is a contract amendment with Cleveland State University, their Energy Policy Center, to help us out with our county utility microgrid work as we develop an RFP and kind of do oversight over the utility to create these microgrids in the county. It's also, we won an award from the Cleveland Foundation earlier in the year to help create this climate risk for business tool. And part of the proposal was to have Cleveland State work on kind of data analysis and around risks associated with geography and what kind of businesses you're in as climate change occurs. And there's greater risks around flooding, droughts, larger storms, things like that. So that's what this is for.
Any questions?
So, go ahead.
So how much are we totaling so far that will be reimbursed by the developer?
So out of this grant, 150, we'll be coming back to you in the beginning of the year with two other contracts, or two other sets of work. One is for the legal work, and second is around the engineering work for microgrid development.
And will
So-
that all be reimbursable?
Yes.
And is there anything?
And can I say,
Yeah.
some of this, there's a lot of federal money out there right now.
Right, that's true.
And around the infrastructure project, we don't know what will be, as we're able to draw down hopefully some of that money. We don't know if we'll be able to get that reimbursed by developers or not, or whether that just comes to us to be used. So
Either
those are
way,
things we'll figure out.
Either way, you don't anticipate the county having to pay
Correct.
bottom line.
That's
And
correct.
Is there anything outside of this grant or future grants that will be also, the developer will reimburse, or is this?
These are the pre-development costs for the
Okay.
developer. And so once we develop, as the microgrids develop,
No other-
they will finance and build them out. And then
No other pre-development costs that you know of, besides this 150?
well, and whatever we pay for the engineering consultants
forward.
and the legal consultants, yeah.
Nothing back? Nothing before this 150?
Oh, I see. No, correct.
Any additional questions?
Just mechanically, how do we get reimbursed? Like, is this going to be in the are all these costs going to be upfront in the RFP, so every vendor that's responding knows exactly how much they're gonna be in for if they sign on?
Yeah, that's correct. So built in the RFP will be the condition that you're bidding on this with the assumption you're going to pay us back for the pre-development costs
Okay,
that are reimbursable, right?
okay. Wait, what do you mean that they are reimbursable?
So if we get money
Oh,
through
that
the,
aren't, okay.
yeah, so if we get infrastructure dollars that go towards microgrid, that aren't reimbursable, then obviously, I don't know what the guidelines or, requirements or limits are going to be on federal dollars. So if we were able to get some of those federal dollars to help write off some of these costs, we may not be able to get the developer to reimburse some of those federal costs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but I also see it as a pot of money that can be used for other things. If we've been telling us, if we know all along that the developer was gonna be needing to pay for this, assuming that these dollars never existed. That was always the intent, if I recall. But if that pot of money is, a certain amount, wouldn't we want to be using it for other things? If we always knew the developer was gonna pay for this?
We will, if there's dollars out there for consulting fees and we can draw down some of those dollars out of the infrastructure budget, the federal infrastructure budget, then I think we want to do that because then.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is we're pulling down dollars for a developer, not for us. Does that make sense?
No.
So there's a pot of money that's available.
Mhm.
And we've all along been going into this saying that the developer was going to be responsible for pre-development costs. This pot of money is over here and it's available for a lot of things.
Mhm.
If we pull money out of that pot, we're really helping the developer. We're not helping the county.
Well, we are helping reduce the cost of power in the long run, so.
I understand that.
So it would
I'm
reduce
just
the
saying,
rates, which in turn may make it more attractive for the business, the user, or it could increase our percent that comes back on the fees of the rates, because the developer would take less of a fee. So I think it's all gonna work out itself in the pricing models,
I just never thought that we were actually going to be making money off of this in fees.
well, to pay for our costs, because we're gonna have internal costs, right? We're gonna have an employee, we're gonna, there's some
But
costs
that,
that,
I guess,
to
and
make
maybe this
money.
is a conversation for
Yeah.
another day, but my point is all the cost associated with this program was supposed to be coming from the developer. So we weren't paying for it to begin with.
so a developer is
Correct.
going to, it's coming out of somewhere, right? I mean, they think they're paying for it up front. It means they're gonna pass on
It would
less.
come to, it would go
less
to the,
money.
it would go to the user, not the county. I guess my point
Yeah.
is, in the grand scheme of funding this program, the county wasn't a funder.
Correct,
That's
Just
correct.
a vehicle
correct.
to fund. So if we're taking money out of this pot that is, I would consider it ours,
I don't think he's speaking about ARPA funds.
or any other.
I mean, the
available-
others are funding that would be specifically for this type of use that we really couldn't use for other things. It's
Okay,
not
all right,
federal
That's helpful
infrastructure.
to understand there,
dollars.
if
Yeah.
it's not money that we could
Correct.
use in other areas.
Yes.
I
No,
guess
that's
what I-
correct, right.
It will
thank you.
be energy, it'll be specific for this type of use that we really couldn't
Okay,
use anywhere else.
so we're
That's
not
right.
planning on using
No,
ARPA dollars
no,
for this?
that's not what-
Correct?
Well, so we've,
I just want to be clear here, because there's.
we'll get reimbursed whatever if we use ARPA dollars up front. So we've got, I don't think the ARPA dollars are, you can use ARPA dollars specifically for this tranche of money. I don't understand the revenue replacement model well
Yeah.
enough to,
Yeah, I
but if
think-
there's revenue replacement dollars that come back to the general fund, then maybe we use those as the front money. We get that money reimbursed back to us, so that's.
But the front money, I guess, the front money you're talking about, independent of what Nicole talked about, because I understand that. If there's grants that are specific to energy, of course, that would go right in. But if we're pulling it out a pot of money that is available to the county for multiple things, especially ARPA. ARPA is right now, in terms of looking at that fund, it's loosey-goosey, but they're gonna be coming down with more guidelines.
Right.
If it comes out of that pot of money, those are dollars that could be used for multiple things, not just microgrid. I
Correct.
just want to go on the record to say that's, so what we're doing is we're subsidizing the developer's cost with money that can be used for other things. And that's just a decision that we need to make. I just want to be clear that that's what we're saying.
All right, and I don't know that we are, Joe, I apologize for that. And I
Well,
think those are
okay,
discussions.
so let's
yeah.
put it this way. If
Yeah.
we can certainly say we're not gonna use ARPA dollars
And
for this.
I'm not, I'm not in position right now to tell you one way or the other how we're doing this. All I know is that
But
for
the
this tranche
position-
of money
But the position that we've been in
Mhm.
has been, the county is not gonna be spending a
Correct.
cent on this.
correct.
And
the
I
long
consider ARPA dollars county money.
And I don't know how Armand or Bill or,
But
how,
that's an-
how that discussion is taking place. I know that we are not spending county money out of this. It'll be reimbursed, right? So whatever dollars that we are spending will not be county dollars as this upfront tranche of money to hire consultants to help us put this RFP together. And two, when we hire the developer, that we will not be using county dollars, that the developer will be paying for
I
the
guess-
build-out of the microgrids to,
But that's my concern, is that all along we've been saying these are developer costs. The Nicole idea relative to a specific grant associated with energy, I get it. I understand that, that's gravy, if we get it. Introducing the concept of reimbursing any upfront costs with ARPA dollars or anything, any other county money is different from what the council has been told up until this
I
point.
think the confusion is that we have to fund this somehow upfront, right? We have no developer today. So we have to have some funding mechanism to enter into this contract. So that's what they've
But
proposed.
the funding mechanism to reimburse us is the developer, not a fund of money that is ours.
But we have to show something that's on the books, because we have to enter into a contract. So at some point, what if there is no what if the microgrid doesn't happen for some reason? Who knows? Whatever could happen.
Right.
That we have to have some way of paying them for their work.
But if there's
So
a
I think
developer.
Then
of
it
the-
will come back and
From
be
the
paid for.
developer and not ARPA
Correct.
or other funds that, independent
Correct.
of a
That's our
grant.
plan.
so can I say?
Yeah.
The ARPA may be the upfront money that we get reimbursed from the
Understood.
developer at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
But the developer will reimburse the ARPA fund.
I think so, because I don't understand the ARPA dollars well enough, Joe, to tell you whether,
But if
how
you're
how all that
using- I
works.
guess
But
my point
but
is
that's
if you-
my understanding, correct?
But it's not complex. I'm just trying to, it's really not complex and has no bearing relative to what the federal government says about ARPA.
Okay. That's the concept then, is that the developer will pay back our costs, our upfront costs, correct?
Okay. I'm
sorry.
not getting the confidence that I
Yeah.
think the county needs, county council has received prior to this. That's all I'm saying.
I think you just need confirmation from Walter on how this is getting set up and how.
I'll
it will
circle
be
back
funded.
around with you, Joe. I promise
Okay.
to
I just-
confirm that, but that is my understanding, is that if we use ARPA dollars, that we will still get reimbursed from the developer from however those ARPA dollars funnel through the county, but we need a source of upfront money to pay for the development fees.
Okay.
The pre-development
But I
piece.
just want to be clear, and you stated something differently earlier, and I don't want this to be kind of like an inquisition, but I just want to be, I've heard presentations to the council that all costs associated with pre-development were going to be coming from a developer and not out of the county coffers. So if in fact, I understand the concept of needing a pot of money to be able to enter into a contract. But what you said earlier, unless I misunderstood you, was that this would be buying down the cost for both the county and the developer. I'm not interested in buying down the cost for the developer. We've been told all along that this is, if it's a good deal for them to come in, it would be a good deal and we wouldn't be paying a dime.
Mhm. Correct. And
Okay.
so I want to say correct to you, right? And that is what we're going to do, right?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, if
Sorry
I
about that.
may, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And I agree that we shouldn't be giving the developer the break just because we have extra ARPA dollars coming in that could apply for that. We should have the ARPA dollars. They should pay the full amount. And there should be no consideration for them at all because we have extra money coming in, unless it's a contract that is specifically energy-driven and they get a bonus because of that. But other than that, no money should be coming either out of the general fund or from ARPA dollars that will end up used for general or capital use. That would give the developer a break deducted from the money that we're expecting them to pay.
Councilman, I hear you, and you're correct.
Okay.
We do need a source of money up front, right?
Yes, that I
to help
understand.
to
These are
pay for these
reimbursement
pre-development.
numbers we're
But these are
talking about.
reimbursable dollars, correct, from the developer.
Yes, no matter what we might
That
get
one.
back in reimbursement, they don't get that piece of money. I have a second question. The 30,000 for the data gathering, why isn't that included as part of the developer's cost?
It's a separate project, so it's not, that is for this business risk toolkit that is funded separately from a Cleveland Foundation grant. So that grant is coming to help pay for development of this toolkit where we'll have contracts with CSU, the Cleveland Water Alliance, and a group called CDP, which is this international group that helps do climate disclosure work. So
Will that amount
for
never?
different
It
projects.
is separate from microgrid.
It's
it is
separate,
not
but it is,
microgrid.
but is it granted? It's not, it is a general fund.
No, it's the sustainability fund.
Sustainability. So do
Which
we
is general
expect
fund.
that the gathering analysis will increase 30,000 now? Do we anticipate that it'll be 30,000?
No, it'll be
a year?
30,000.
Period.
Yes.
You will not need in 2023 more gathering, or, I mean, how extensive is this gathering for
Yeah.
climate risk calculator?
So this is kind of idea that the Cleveland Water Alliance has come to us about, and it's this business attraction tool that insurance costs for businesses across the country or across the world are going to be increased because of climate change. If you're a company that does, a Pepsi bottling company in California, you're in the middle of a drought, and that drought's not going to go away for a long, long time. So there's things like that out there. So your cost of insurance, probably for business interruption insurance, for all sorts of insurances, are going to increase significantly. Or if you're a company in potentially, Houston or Arizona, where the heat days, instead of 90-degree heat days a year, you're going to have 120 90-degree heat days. Then the cost to do climate control and to keep your workers comfortable while they're working is going to go up significantly. So this is putting hard numbers around what that is for different geographies, different types of businesses. There's data out there that needs to be gathered. So we talked to a number of kind of agencies out there, credit reporting agencies, national insurance companies that have data. It's all behind paywalls. There may be future dollars out there that will be needed to keep this up and running, but that is something we're going to have to discern over the next year or so as we get this model up and built.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Well, it seems like it could be a cost that never goes away and probably will increase because you're always looking for more and more data.
Could be that those are things we'll have to come back to you later on as we discern that. There may be other sources of money for that data.
Is the Cleveland Foundation, you said that you're receiving funding from them to help pay for this?
Mhm.
Are they helping to pay for the 30,000 or?
We asked for 200,000. They gave us 100,000.
100?
We've been able to whittle this thing down, so it'll be about 130,000 altogether. So they'll be paying, 3/4, whatever the number is.
They're paying 100, we're paying 30.
Yeah.
Okay,
One other
all
question.
right, thank you.
Just a date question. When do you propose to getting the RFP out?
So we're working right now we've decided on a developer.
No,
we've settled
an
on
owner's
a
rep.
consultant. And we're working with law right now on legal assistance. So we've got a couple firms that we'll be coming back to you in January on.
As an owner's rep?
Yes,
Okay.
as ownership. So my goal, Joe, is to get to get these guys under contract as soon as possible, and to get an RFP out by April, May, at the latest, hopefully, to hire someone as soon as possible. Look, I want to, before arm's term ends, I want to, I want to get a developer out there and I want to get some sort of construction on at least one of these microgrids.
Okay.
Can I just throw in one other thing? I know this is going on forever.
We
so.
just don't want to go anywhere.
We did do, so there is this national EDA grant out there, that part of Build Back Better, so with proposal. We submitted with Magnet, with Greater Cleveland Partnership, a whole host of others, a proposal. It's the winning agents basically will get between $25 and $75 million. So 530 submissions went into this proposal, or into this grant. We won that. We came out of. They whittled it down to 50 or 60. We made this first tranche, so we're getting the region is getting $500,000 out of that. The county can direct 30 of that to a consultant just to start helping to work on our portion of this larger grant. And there's about 7 or 8 different tracks within this larger EDA grant. So as we're working through developing, hiring our consultant, we're going to try to talk to Magnet, who's been the grant recipient, to also hire that consultant to get them up and running as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And if we get that grant, the county would be getting $5 or $6 million out of that, just for microgrid work on, buying lines for, distribution lines or substations or transmission integration, kind of work. So there could be real construction dollars available through that grant.
Just got to get Mansion to get on board.
No, this is infrastructure. This thing's already
I
happened.
You said it was the Build Back Better.
No, well, I think it's called Build Back Better within the infrastructure.
Totally separate.
I gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The other Build Back Better.
The owner's rep, are you working with the prosecutor's office on that one? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
Greg has been, so 2 tranches. We've got the legal side, and Greg's working with
Gotcha.
prosecutor's
That's what I
office
wanna
now.
make sure
And then
we
we've
have.
got the engineering side over here that
Perfect.
that we'll be bringing you guys.
Okay,
Hopefully in January.
that's my last question.
I have a
Questions?
follow-up question.
Uh-huh.
When you said about the April-May timeframe in response to Joe's question, is that to get a microgrid developer on board, or is that just to get people on board that'll run the RFP process?
No. The people on board hopefully will be back in front of you in January
Hopefully,
to hire them. That will be to get the RFP out to hire the developer.
So to
So
get it
you're
on the
hoping
street.
to have the RFP out for the developer in April or May?
Yeah.
Okay.
Late spring, early June.
Oh.
Or late spring, early summer.
Just follow, I'll make it quick. I do remember that we were told that there would be no costs to the county, and I think that it might be a slippery slope when we start exempting. When we say, oh, well, that does not include the climate risk calculator, or it doesn't include whatever else that might come down the road. So I just think, just as a red flag here, is that we need to be careful what we're exempting. And yes, the county will pay for that part, but this part won't be. When I think I thought pretty well told that none of it would be county expense.
Yeah, Councilwoman, I just want to say they're 2 separate, distinct projects, and I'm just trying to be as efficient as possible when I come in front of you. And so I bundled them
Right.
together into one one contract extension. So I just want to be very clear about that. The dollars that I promised you, right, that the county would not pay for, I'm promising that to you again, right, for the microgrid county utility project.
He's just using the same consultant to do both work. And so the one is not related to microgrid at all. It's just falls under Cleveland State's purview. Because there will be other things, Mike, that you come to the board for. I mean, you've got other sustainability projects that we might see. So I just don't want to get confused so that later on, he's going to come back again and there might be some general fund dollars, but it's not related to microgrid.
That's right. Is that clear, Councilwoman?
Yeah, it's just that the way that it reads, you're asking for some amendment to the state of the board microgrid energy
Yeah.
development support services.
That's the confusion,
It just
exactly.
be me the
right.
way I wrote it, so it's my fault.
Right, because you're reading like the whole thing is for microgrid, which it's not, it just,
Wasn't my intention, I apologize.
yeah. Exactly, yep. And that might be a holdover of when you initially did the contract, so sometimes they just take the same caption as initially. I'm guessing that's how this ended up that way, but yes.
Not my intention to write it the way, so my intention is that the $150,000 is reimbursable by the developer. The 30 is for the separate project, but it's with the same consulting group, Cleveland State University, so I apologize for that.
Correct.
My fault. Probably.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Nicole English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-749, County Prosecutor, recommending an award on a purchase order to Penn Link Limited in the amount not to exceed $26,104 for a sole source purchase of 2 PLX software licenses for the period December 31st, 2021 through December 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Ryan Bocouch from the County Prosecutor's Office. I'm the Crime Strategy Supervisor there, and we're requesting that approval for a grant-funded purchase of the 2 software licenses to do data analysis as part of our Innovation of Prosecution grant award from 2020.
Are there any questions on this item? Okay, hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-750, Court of Common Pleas Corrections Planning Board, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Passages Connecting Fathers and Sons Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $90,500 for specialized programming for non-support offenders for the period July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Marty Murphy for the Corrections Planning Board. We are requesting to do an award to Passages for the non-support offender program. The RFP exemption is because we have put this out for bid in my tenure in 14, 16, and 18. We did not put it out in 20 because of COVID and the ability to actually get an RFP out the door. We do anticipate going out for bid again in the next round. And in the past 3, Passages has been the only one responding to the RFPs.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Councilwoman Baker?
So we are asked to support $90,000 for this effort, yet we can't know or have the ability to track whether or not the program's working as far as the dollars being put forward for these children?
The Corrections Planning Board does evaluate the program, but it's based on criminal justice variables as designed by the state for the Community Corrections Act funds. It would require some agreement with the prosecutor's office and CISA to actually determine how much is actually being brought in. I do know that they keep them on probation for 5 years, and if they were not making their payments during that time frame, they would end up going back to court with the risk of being incarcerated.
I guess, do we have any idea at all that this really?
Again, Councilwoman, it's something that would really be under the realm of other entities. All we're doing is carrying the stick.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-751, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $225,250 for a state contract purchase of 170 replacement HP Z2 G5 workstations and 170 HP LCD monitors, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hi, Priscilla Bottomley with the Juvenile Court. We are requesting an award to M&J Technologies for the last phase of our workstations and monitors that need to be upgraded. The current workstations and monitors are 10 years old and need to be upgraded. We did receive 3 quotes from dealers on the state term contract, and M&J was the lowest and best.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
You need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's really
Are there any seconds?
Thank you.
Second? Oh,
Councilman Miller, I think.
Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item approved. Next item?
Next item, BC 2021-752, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, recommending awards and enter into agreements with various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $67,200 for community diversion program services for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, with the City of Bay Village in the amount not to exceed $11,600, with the City of Brooklyn in the amount not to exceed $6,400, with the City of Lakewood in the amount not to exceed $24,400, and with the City of Strongsville in the amount not to exceed $24,800.
Good morning, Tamika Ballard with Juvenile Court. These are community-based programs that are set up and designed to divert you from receiving official court involvement. I'm sorry. And this diversion service is focused on rehabilitation and accountability for the youth.
Questions on this item? No questions. I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank
item?
you.
Next item, BC 2021-753, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award and enter into a contract with City of Pepper Pike in the amount not to exceed $45,450 for the provision of local non-federal matching funds for the Regional Command Vehicle Project in connection with the fiscal year 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program for the period December 20th, 2021 through September 30th, 2023.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And 31 fire departments in Cuyahoga County banded together to submit an Assistance to Firefighters Grant application to FEMA for a regional command vehicle. Pepper Pike is serving as the fiscal agent on this grant. The group received a $454,500 award from FEMA to purchase this vehicle, and there is a 10% local match. This agreement will actually reimburse Pepper Pike the 10% match required for this grant. It will remove the need for the various communities to come up with their portion of this obligation. In addition, it will make this command vehicle available countywide for all fire departments. It'll be used as a command post and also be able to be used for on-scene firefighter rehabilitation in the event of an emergency that lasts over one operational period.
Are there any questions on this item? There are no questions. I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item?
Next item, BC 2021-754, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award and enter into a contract with AVI SPL LLC in the amount not to exceed $13,629 for the purchase and installation of 2 replacement large venue laser projectors for the Emergency Operations Center for the period December 20th, 2021 through June 19th, 2022.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn again. This replaces 2 large projectors that are in the Emergency Operations Center. Unfortunately, the 2 projectors that are there have failed and they're beyond repair. And these projectors allow us to maintain situational awareness during an emergency. We did solicit quotes and we're going with the lowest cost vendor.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, could you say a little bit more about what these lasers would be used for?
The projectors, okay, so I don't know if you've been in the Emergency Operations Center, but if I'm sitting in the middle of the room, there are screens, 2 screens here, 2 screens here and 2 screens here. So to use COVID as an example while we were operationalized, this allowed us to monitor the governor's presentations on one screen. It allowed us to keep on another screen all of the current supplies of PPE. It allowed us to monitor what was going on at the resource center. It allowed us to keep the State Department of Health web information up. So it just gives different situational awareness. It allows us to give us multiple views, which was critical.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-755, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Arista Tech Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $6,375 for hazard analysis of Tier 2 chemical facilities in Cuyahoga County for the period December 20th, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
The basis of this RFP exemption is the fact that we have already have services with Arista Tech. They provide us the software that is used by all 4 hazmat teams. Arista Tech takes all of the chemical reports that are submitted by agencies in the Cuyahoga County that house chemicals, and it allows the hazmat teams who are responding to an incident to know what chemicals are on site and the quantities. What this contract is going to do is actually take it one step further, and the vendor is going to conduct an in-depth hazard analysis of the facilities that are housing extremely hazardous substances, and let us take, it'll basically build worst-case scenarios. So when the teams go to a site, they can actually put in variables like what is the current wind conditions, what is the current temperature. It can act, and it will actually spit the information out, letting them know, okay, these chemicals and these conditions may result in these kinds of scenarios so that the hazmat teams can better respond.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-756, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending an award on a purchase order to Treasurer, State of Ohio, Ohio State Highway Patrol, in the total amount not to exceed $14,400 for law enforcement automated data system subscription services for the period August 1st, 2020 through July 31st, 2022.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, pinch hitting for the Medical Examiner's Office. This subscription is used by the medical examiner to access law enforcement data to complete their work. The kind of law enforcement data might be the criminal histories, vehicle registrations, driver's license information. And I believe Hugh already addressed a question as to why it was late. He explained that they had their previous staff member overlooked processing it, and this did not come to their attention until the state of Ohio sent the bill in for this year.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2021-757, Sheriff's Department, submitting an amendment to a contract with Alcohol Monitoring Systems Incorporated for Global Position System, alcohol monitoring equipment, and related services for the period March 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2021, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $266,250.
Hello, Laura Sims from the Sheriff's Department. This is an extension to a contract with Alcohol Monitoring Systems. We brought one not last week, but the week before, to add additional funds and extend it to the end of the year. This will extend it through the first quarter of next year. It is in coordination with the Juvenile Court as well as the Common Pleas Court, and where the Sheriff's Department is the contracting agent to coordinate all of this. We have sent out we did have an RFP for replacing or doing a new contract with this. It is in process right now. With the legal department, they're working back and forth with the vendor to finalize the contract. This extension will give us enough time to complete that contract.
Are there any questions on this item? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-758, Sheriff's Department, recommending an award on requisition 6967 and enter into a contract with Psi Technologies Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $138,100 for the purchase of professional standard software for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024.
Laura Sims from the Sheriff's Department again. This is software that is in response to the nationwide issue of use of police force. And one of the things that we will be doing with this software, it will be tracking all of there are several things that will happen with the software. And first of all, it's been approved by the TAC committee, so we're good with that. And then we will be using it is to track complaints that come in, any use of force things that happens, and then we'll be able to use those as a metrics to look at, if there's any patterns, so that if we need to address certain things or provide training or anything like that to try and get in front of these things, the software will help us track and maintain that.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-759, Sheriff's Department, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $8,788 for a state contract purchase of maintenance services on 26 mobile data terminals for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Laura Sims from the Sheriff's Department again. These are the mobile data terminals that are in the vehicles for the fleet for the Sheriff's Department. And this is simply for an extended warranty to service those existing MDTs for parts and labor for the period in there.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-760, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to TAC Computer Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $14,209.38 for mobile data terminal and records management system software maintenance and support services for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Laura Sims again, Sheriff's Department. This is for the records management system that is in current use from for the deputies for law enforcement. The system interfaces with the Chagrin Valley Dispatch unit so that we are able to work with dispatch on cases, as well as keeps the records of the arrest data in the system. And so this is the maintenance with the current vendor to continue maintaining that system through the next year.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-761, Department of Health and Human Services, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to the Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center in the amount not to exceed $208,000 for audiology patient assistance program services for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good afternoon, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of the Health Policy Team for Health and Human Services. This is an exemption for a contract with the Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center to provide operational support for their audiology patient assistance program, which helps low-income county residents access audiology screening services and purchase equipment like hearing aids and assistive listening devices, which often aren't covered by health insurance plans. This is funding that was designated by Council in 2015, and it has continued since then, again, to help those patients access these services. The Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center is unique in that while other entities throughout the county provide similar services, Nobody else does it specifically targeting low-income individuals. And again, because this often isn't covered by insurance, paying out of pocket for these specific screening services and devices is often cost prohibitive for low-income residents.
Any questions on this item?
A quick question. What department does this, is this DCFS that it's administered out of, or?
Thanks, Joe. This is through HHS, through the Office of the Director with our health policy team. So Sabrina Roberts oversees that portfolio.
Okay.
And that's the same for all of the other HHS items that are being presented today. They all fall under kind of that same umbrella with the exception of the amendment for John Lawson.
So if we heard of a need, Sabrina would be the one that I could contact.
Correct.
Okay.
She would be a great contact point. She oversees all of these type of programs and kind of those special initiatives as they arise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just an additional comment that this program also has a workforce development component in that for some of the people, the assistance enables them to work.
Thank you, Councilman Miller.
Any additional questions? All right, hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-762, Department of Health and Human Services submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to the Center for Community Solutions in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for fiscal agent services for the AIDS Funding Collaborative for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good afternoon, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services. This is an RFP exemption for the 2-year funding period associated with the new biennial budget, and it's for fiscal agent services for the AIDS Funding Collaborative. This is required as part of our maintenance of effort under the federal Ryan White grant that the county receives. We have to provide fiscal agent services for helping get those dollars out into the community. I will note that this entity, the AIDS Funding Collaborative, has existed since 1994, and that group chose the Center for Community Solutions to serve as their fiscal agent back in 2005. The county makes up just one member of the AIDS Funding Collaborative. Any decision to change fiscal agents would be a group decision. That's why we're continuing to recommend this funding for the next 2 years to designate the Center for Community Solutions. And again, this is a required element of services that have to be provided under the Ryan White grant that we receive from the federal government.
Any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-763, Department of Health and Human Services submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to United Way of Greater Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $277,333 for community resource navigation and med-refer services to residents of Cuyahoga County for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good afternoon, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services. This is funding for the 1-year period, calendar year 2022, for United Way of Greater Cleveland to operate med-refer and community resource navigation services as part of their 211 program. This funding only makes up a small portion of the funding United Way receives for 211, and it's designated specifically for that community resource navigation piece and the med-refer services. This funding is designated to United Way as they are the only authorized operator of the 211 hotline in this region. If we were to seek an alternative vendor to provide these services, it likely would be more confusing to folks calling for the assistance, where most folks are used to being able to dial 211 and know that you can access help or be directed to help by calling that number. I do want to share that since 2020, the program has saved individuals an estimated $6.5 million on prescription drug costs. It was approximately 4.5 million in 2020, and then partial year stats for 2021 indicate cost savings of over 2.1 million. This represents an excellent return on investment for the county's dollars for this funding.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-764, Department of Health and Human Services submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to the Children's Hospital Medical Center in the amount not to exceed $257,400 for poison control services and support of the Drug and Poison Information Center for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good afternoon, Paul Porter on behalf of Health and Human Services. This item is 2 years' worth of funding for the local Northern Ohio Poison Control Center. Originally, the county provided funding support since the early 2000s to a center that was operated out of the UH Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital. However, that facility closed in 2014, and at that time, the University of Cincinnati, Children's Hospital Medical Center in Cincinnati agreed to take over phone calls from the region. There are currently just 2 call centers throughout the entire state that handle these kind of phone calls, and my understanding is they're divided up by the regions that they handle within the state. So in 2014, when the Northern Ohio Center itself closed, Cincinnati agreed to take over phone calls from this region. So we've continued to provide the funding since 2014 to Cincinnati. Since the start of the current contract, which started in January 2020, covering calendar years 20 and 21, the center has handled approximately 20,000 calls from our region. And what this funding does is it supports the staffing for the hotline that includes 5 physician toxicologists, 19 pharmacists and nurses, and other health professionals who can respond to calls at any time of day or night.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-765, Department of Health and Human Services, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Mobile Med One Incorporated, doing business as MedWorks, in the amount not to exceed $90,648 for administration, outreach, enrollment, and coordination services for the Cuyahoga Health Access Partnership Program for the period July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good afternoon, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services. This is our 2-year funding agreement that actually starts July of next year in support of the Cuyahoga Health Access Partnership for Mobile Med One, doing business as MedWorks, to administer that program. This is a private-public partnership that the county helped kick off several years ago to ensure that low-income county residents are enrolled in insurance plans so that they can access affordable health care. And there's also a particular focus on including Cuyahoga County Justice Center inmates and the overall jail population to make sure that when those individuals are released from jail, they have adequate insurance coverage. Again, this is a private-public partnership, and since the start of that partnership, Mobile Med One, which was one of the original partners, has been kind of the designated administrator for this funding. Making a change to that would require kind of a decision by the collaborative group, not just the county.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-766, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with John Lawson for legal services for youth in custody for the period September 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2021, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $27,500.
Good afternoon, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. This is an amendment to DCFS's contract with John Lawson, who specializes in providing legal services for youth that are in custody of the Division of Children and Family Services. Mr. Lawson's current contract is set to expire December 31st. However, he does have active and open cases, so we're looking at doing an extension and adding additional funds to make sure he can be paid for cases that he's already begun work on. We are seeking to put out a bid for this during the month of January, and we would look for a new contract to start either with Mr. Lawson if he chooses to bid or with another entity effective April 1 after this amendment period ends.
Any questions on this item? Nani?
Just a comment. Thanks for always being so thorough with your presentations. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to the consent agenda, items BC 2021-767 through 771.
I have one question on 769. How much money was in dispute that you settled on for Everlaw? Was it a considerable 769?
The amount that's reflected, that 17 and a half, is what is owed for the 2 additional months.
I'm sorry, what was that number again?
That 17 and a half thousand is what is owed for those 2 additional months.
Okay, so 17.5, 17,000. Okay. And that 17 was included in the original contract, not to exceed a certain amount, and you're taking,
Yes, we're under the total appropriated for the contract in total.
thank you.
Any additional questions on the consent agenda items? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve the agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Other business?
We do have other business. We have a time-sensitive mission-critical, item BC 2021-772, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on a purchase order to Cleveland Door Controls Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $2,700 to repair the controls of the ADA entrance door at the Virgil E. Brown Building.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This was a mission-critical, time-sensitive determination made by the department back in November for immediate repair of an ADA accessible door to the Virgil Brown Superior entrance. Without that repair, we would not have had accessibility into the building for the public.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second by Councilman Miller? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Item approved. Next item.
We do have an additional item not listed on the printed agenda, item BC 2021-773, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry for operations and case management services for a 365-bed men's emergency shelter located at 2100 Lakeside Avenue, Cleveland, and for the facilitation and coordination of overflow shelter services for single adults and families at various locations for the period January 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, to modify the scope of services to expand the COVID plus discharge plan site in response to a rising number of COVID positive individuals within the continuum of care, effective December 20th, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $475,000.
Good morning, David Merriman, Director, Department of Health and Human Services. I'm here on behalf of the Office of Homeless Services. We're bringing forward today a contract amendment with Lutheran Metro Ministry. Lutheran Metro Ministry manages the county's emergency weather and overflow services for homeless individuals. And Lutheran Metro Ministry has been the point of contact for most of the pandemic for the COVID discharge service. The amendment today will enable us to fund Lutheran Metro Ministry to continue both the discharge service that enables hospitals to release COVID-positive individuals to an off-site that would enable them to complete their isolation order and not return to the shelter, This amendment will also resource Lutheran Metro Ministry to secure additional sites in preparation for the emergency weather plan for 2022. And lastly, Lutheran Metro Ministry will be funding the supportive services that are associated with each of these sites. This includes food, this includes on-site supervision, in the case of the discharge service, medical care, and laundry and other services, security as well. Just want to acknowledge that we are amending Lutheran Metro Ministries' contract. However, we have reached out to many organizations to ensure that there aren't other ways for us to approach this. Just want to recognize some of these organizations. As a result of the ARPA website that was posted by the county, we received requests from Western Reserve Area on Aging, Eliza Bryant Village, the Jennings Center, Belfair. We contacted each of them to see if they had any resources that could support us that would serve some of these same needs. There weren't any. Beyond Lutheran Metro Ministry, we also spoke to Metanoia, NEOC, Eden, and YWCA. They too support the service but don't have additional resources they can bring to our consideration. We've also spoken to representatives from area faith-based organizations such as Dr. C.J. Matthews. We've spoken to Metro Health and Eden. Lastly, we consulted with Rebecca Ebby from the Executive's office just to understand were there other proposals that have come in recently through ARPA that could also provide some of the same services. And unfortunately, there weren't many other options for us to continue. We have this contract with Lutheran Metro Ministry and are happy to recommend continuing the relationship in this service.
I'd like to make a motion to add this to today's agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item added. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, my question is whether we expect to be able to access ARPA or other federal funds to help pay for this additional cost.
To the councilman, it will depend on the time frame. This amendment will go into effect immediately. We expect to be using some part of the levy funds that were available to us this year, available to us next year. We hope over time we're going to find a way to charge some of this to ARPA, but those funds have not been allocated. There has not been a lot of discussion on how to allocate them for specific contracts such as this. There are procurement requirements for ARPA. And so the short answer is we're still exploring that. We will try to utilize federal funds from multiple sources, including ARPA. But at this point, this is a responsive proposal we're bringing forward, so it's coming with levy dollars.
Okay, well, you got to deal with what's out there, and I do think there isn't much question that it's ARPA eligible, so can take it from there.
Any additional questions?
Just a thought, and not specific to this item, but we talked on Friday, and the situation is getting pretty crazy, as everybody sees. One of the things we do get from the jail is kind of weekly population reports that includes the number of COVID positive individuals. It might help if you sent over maybe like a weekly, just a tidbit update as to what's happening in the homeless shelters to all the council members. So I know that this is likely not the last request you guys are going to be coming for, so folks are prepared and understand the situation before you come forward with the next item. Just a thought.
Certainly appreciate that. I'll follow up with Melissa Sirak, the director. I do want to acknowledge, number one, there are some small shelters that don't have a lot of population, and any sort of disclosure of cases in there you would have to watch.
I'm talking in general.
Okay.
Not specific to shelters. So folks on council.
Okay.
Might be helpful.
We'll explore it. We're working very closely with Metro Health Hospital. They do the on-site testing. There is at times a lag between when we get the test results and when we're acting on it. But I'll talk to Melissa Sirak. We'll see how to improve our reporting.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Is there any other business, public comment?
I did want to comment that the next meeting, or the December 27th Board of Control meeting has been canceled, and the next regular meeting will be held on Monday, January 3rd, 2022.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by everyone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. We're adjourned.
Okay, you too, take care.